Hi, it's Dr. Greg Jantz, founder of the Center. It's time for more hope and possibilities. During the holidays, do you get stressed out? Sometimes do you feel like I'm being pushed just a tad bit far? I'm stressed out. I'm overindulged. We'll talk about it next on Hope and Possibility.
Dr. Gregory Jantz is a best-selling author of over 45 books and the founder of the Center, A Place of Hope, voted a top 10 center for depression treatment in the U.S. As the pioneer of whole person care, Dr. Jantz is known as the messenger of hope. Now the nation's expert on anxiety, depression, substance abuse, relationships, trauma, and PTSD, here is Dr. Gregory Jantz.
All right, holiday stress, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Okay, so it's something we do every year. But does this year feel a tad different? Does this year feel like I've already been stressed out all year long? We've been under a barrage of chronic stress. It's been that over us, that heaviness that's been present the last, I think we could say 3 years. And it's had now a cumulative effect upon us, and we're feeling it. We're feeling it in the whole person. We're feeling it emotionally. That's why anxiety is the number one diagnosis. We're feeling it with depression. We're feeling it in the area of addiction. We're feeling it in finances. There are those that tell me that the inflation and the stress of the finances has robbed me of this Christmas. And this person said, all I want is just a great Christmas. It's time. Are you feeling that way? Okay, here's what we know. I pulled up, now statistics are interesting because at times they're best guess. So here's the best guess. Only 8% of us report feeling calm right now. 8% are calm. What are they doing? 70% say they lack the time to do everything and the stress of money. So the majority. Another 50% on this particular survey said, look, I'm feeling pressure now to give. Last year in 2020 in the COVID time, it's like it was understandable, but I'm feeling the pressure to give. All right, break it down. 3 holiday. When I say holiday, I'm combining, it kind of starts, unfortunately, with all the candy around Halloween, and that sets a slide, and people just tend to slide into Thanksgiving. And a time that I believe we need to look at gratitude and actually feel gratitude and actually experience gratitude. We're feeling some doom already. And when the Christmas decor and advertisements start before Thanksgiving, it hits you and you go, And so there's that stress points or the triggers, those are triggers, to kind of push us over the edge of, I've had enough. All right, here's the stressors. Money, add inflation onto that. And so the money feels tight, and it feels like I'm not able to do what I would normally like to do, but I feel the pressure. The next one is family. These are the 3 primary stress points. Family, and family can be a source of great joy, or, as we have in every family, there's the one, maybe 2, hopefully not too many, that are troublesome. They're family members that you may share some history of trauma, some history that's been difficult. There could be loss, the loss of a loved one. But family, source of our, at times, greatest joy, and the source of, at times, of our greatest pain. All right, the third one is overindulgence. Overindulgence, we think first maybe of alcohol. It certainly could be that, but overindulgence comes in the form of food, putting on a party attitude, and doing whatever I want to do with food and treats, etc. Overindulgence can come in spending. Overindulgence can come in the form of I'm overusing social media. I'm just in a general overuse. Overindulgence might look like a person who's struggling with alcohol and they're trying to keep some of that alcohol use secret. But there's a secret overindulgence. All right, money, family issues, and general overindulgence. Now, family can trigger, I made a note here, resentments can be re-triggered. Family can create where there's maybe some old wounds and hurt. You see a family member that was connected to the person that created the hurt, and bingo, there you are. You're feeling it. You've been re-triggered. With this also can come the feelings of sadness and loneliness. Now, loneliness looks different. Loneliness is a sense of I'm feeling total isolation. Maybe it's physically as well as emotional isolation. I am isolated. I am cut off from others. I feel that there's an emptiness. And loneliness can be very difficult to describe, but you know it when you feel it. And it can be quite painful. 61% in a recent survey of Americans said they felt lonely. 61%. So that means a disconnect from close relationships, a disconnect from relationships that bring us a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose that comes from the relationships. All right, the other area that we're struggling is the food, the diet, and just that sense of all the emotions that come with that, with body image, the emotions that come with I have failed another year. I've gained weight. People were saying during the pandemic about weight gain and gaining weight and gaining weight. And now it's like, okay, I think we're out of the pandemic and I just keep gaining weight. So we've got into a cycle that feels destructive, and we've become more unhappy with ourselves. So, and we know now this Pinterest, all right? I was thinking about there's the Pinterest fueled expectations. People are looking at what is ideal, what is beautiful, how it should be. And here's what we know. That can really, those images, the ideal, the wishful thinking, and you realize it doesn't measure up to any of that at all. And when I'm with my family, it's far from that. It's far from that. So let's talk about toxic family. There's toxic families. Here's some things to be aware of. There's some that are passive aggressive. You may see them and they smile at you and say hello and how are you, but behind the scenes there may be gossip, rumors, they're saying hurtful things. That's the passive aggressive family member. There's another family member that's when you see them or you're thinking about seeing them, it brings up all this old trauma, a sense of old trauma, and it could come maybe there was some abuse. Abuse comes in many forms. Could be emotional abuse, where there could have been some demeaning words, some harsh words, and it was happened with this person numerous times, and so you felt like you never measured up, you were never good enough. It was emotional abuse. So, and then there's families where there's real active addiction. We need to talk about that for a minute, because active addiction, holidays, Thanksgiving, those can be an excuse to overindulge, overdrink, and it's just that theme of addiction. It can come under the guise of, hey, we're celebrating Thanksgiving, but it's really an excuse to overuse, overindulge, drink, act out the addiction. Now, I'm using alcohol, which is real common, but it could be illustrations, it could be cannabis, it could be other things as well. So drug use, we're celebrating, we put it in that framework, but it's not a celebration. It's an excuse to act out our addiction. All right, what do we need to do? Here's what we need to do. We've got to make some pre-decisions here. How am I going to handle this ahead of time? How am I going to handle a holiday party, a family gathering, etc.? Okay, I have to make some I call them pre-decisions. Before I get into the situation, I've got to be proactive. So I need to decide, who do I need to limit my engagement? Engagement means how deep in conversation am I going to go? I need to have boundaries or limitations around certain people. I need to decide this ahead of time. And hopefully I'm going to be able to have another person with me. It always works better. I call it an armor bearer. It's the person that is physically with you, and wherever you are in a family gathering, where there could be the potential of emotional abuse or a trigger from a person that's going to have been difficult and troublesome. This person is next to you. They're always physically, now you've had this all worked out ahead of time, but they're next to you. They're a shield of emotional shield for you. And you have predetermined cues or signals with them. So maybe it's a hand signal when I need to leave, it's time to go, but you predetermine, if I do this, it means, okay, I'm thinking it's time to go. And so that you have a way of communicating. You have predetermined cues. And you're also going to predetermine what topics are safe and what are not safe topics, okay? And what topics are you willing to talk about and those you aren't. I saw a little meme that said, talk about politics at Thanksgiving, it'll save you a lot of money at Christmas. So what are the topics that create division and create fighting, etc.? So, and I just need to know ahead of time. Also, ahead of time, I need to know, I always advise never stepping into the alcohol trap. That's my personal opinion. If you feel like drinking, have sparkling water. When we drink alcohol, yes, we all know it lowers inhibitions, but we tend to say things and do things, and our impulses are lowered in such a way that it creates really harm to ourselves and others, and you may say and do things later you regret. So I always say, just keep drinking water. Okay, it doesn't sound real exciting. It's the best way to go. And pre-decide don't ever go to a family gathering overly hungry. If you need to have a protein bar beforehand or protein drink, don't step into situations that are emotional when you're already physically hungry. All right, now, here's one thing we need to understand. That people right now could be very hypersensitive. You see, there's the stress of our culture. There's the stress that we've all walked through. And people, you may have noticed this, but there's just a general hypersensitiveness, as well as, I wrote down the word hypercritical. People are hypercritical, which means they're hyper judgmental. And this brings us to a place of people are very sensitive, potentially moody, and they also are quick to make judgments. So sometimes we're stepping into those situations. I mentioned this because we want to step away from doing that ourselves and come back to, this is a time where I do want to practice two things. Grace, and grace for myself means not an excuse, but it's understanding what we've all come through, and also understanding, for the most part, most people have done the best they know how to do, and I'm going to give grace. Now, that's not always true. I'm not making any kind of exception for a person that's been abusive. Grace and gratitude, and practicing gratitude. Think about, this is the time, if you're going to a difficult family gathering, take an old-fashioned 3x5 card. That's right here, 3x5 card. And if it's a truth about you, a positive affirmation, a favorite scripture, a verse, but something that has deep meaning that you can pull that out of your pocket and look at it, and immediately you're re-anchored. Your thinking is renewed, and you're re-anchored right back. So sometimes we take emotional hits from others because of this hypersensitivity, hypercriticalness, and we just need to take a pause, pull out the truth about ourselves, go, okay, I got it. And you're always going to have, remember, you got that, I call it armor bearer. It's the person next to you that is always going to be your emotional shield. So go into situations, deciding ahead of time how you're going to handle them. I'm not going to self-medicate through alcohol, food, and I'm also going to, when I go into a situation, I'm going to look around and say, who are my safe people? And I'm going to spend the time with the safe people. That doesn't mean we don't look at another person that's troublesome, greeting, but remember, we're going to limit engagement. And have a cue when it's time to go. Know ahead of time what you're going to say. It looks like it's 4 o'clock, and we're going to need to be stepping out soon. It's been really good to see everybody. Have a plan, have a statement, and know what you're going to say and do as a part of your exit strategy. And then it's always helpful, if possible, soon after an intense event, do some physical movement, some exercise, a brisk walk, do something physically. It's so helpful just to begin to release some of the tension of the situation. That physical movement is more important than you could ever imagine. All right, remember, there are things I can control. I control I wrote this down as a reminder. My attitude, my effort, and my actions I can control. I can't control other people's actions. I can't control other people's opinions. I can't control their feelings. I don't want to. I can't control what they say or do, but I can control and have strong self-control myself, have self-mastery of my emotions, and I can walk through some difficult situations successfully. Yes, I can. Remind yourself of that. And let's do this year differently than previous years.